Hello student, we are in a new chapter, Rules of Debit and Credit. So in this chapter, we will learn when to debit an account and when to credit an account by applying the rules of debit and credit. We will learn the two approaches called modern approach and traditional approach and the rules of debit and credit in these two approaches. Before we go into that, let's see an introduction to account. So here in this video, we will see what an account is, the format of the account, and the concept of debit side of account and credit side of account. What is an account? An account is a record of transactions under a particular head. So under a given head, if transactions are recorded, then it is called account. It records not only the amount of the transaction but also their effect and direction. So not only is the amount of the transaction recorded in the account but also the effect and direction. That is the balance of the account going up or down and which direction it points to. Let's see a quick few points. An account is usually in a T form. It is divided into two parts, debit and credit. The left side of an account is debit, whereas the right side of an account is credit. In abbreviated form, DR is debit, whereas CR is credit. Let's check out the format of an account. An account is in the form of a T shape. If you see the thick horizontal and vertical line over here, you can see that this account is in the form of a T shape. On the top of the T, the name of the account is written. So it could be cash account, it could be purchase account, it could be sales account, it could be furniture account, it could be building account, any account. On top of the T, the name of the account is written. On the left side, we say it is debit side and the abbreviation is DR. And the right side is the credit side and the abbreviation is CR. On either side, we have date, particulars, JF and rupee column. On both sides, the same headings come. Under the date column, the date of the transaction is written. Under the particulars column, the name of the other account is written. JF is short for journal folio. It represents the page number of the subsidiary book in which the transaction was initially recorded. And under rupee, we have the amount of the transaction. Similarly, on the credit side, the date of the transaction, the name of the other account, JF column, journal folio, where the page number of the subsidiary book in which the transaction was first recorded is written, and the amount is also written. Now, when we record an entry on the debit side of the account, we are said to have debited the account. And when we record a transaction on the right side or the credit side, we are said to have credited the account. Let's say the account is cash account. Let's say I wrote here to sales account. I have debited the cash account with sales account. So similarly, if I write on the credit side by purchases account, I am said to have credited the cash account with purchases account. So, when we write an item on the debit side, we are said to have debited the account. And when we write an item on the credit side, we are said to have credited the account. Now, the question arises, how do I know whether I need to debit the account or whether I need to credit the account? Now, this depends upon the nature of the account and the classification of account. So, let's see that. So, we saw that when an item is recorded in the debit side, the account is said to be debited. And when an item is recorded in the credit side, the account is said to be credited. We also saw whether an account is to be debited or credited depends upon the nature of the account. And there are two approaches for determining the nature of the account. First one is the traditional approach and the second one is the modern approach. So in the successive video, we will see the traditional approach, the classification of accounts under the traditional approach, and the rules for debit and credit in the traditional approach. After that, we will also go to the modern approach. You will see the classification of accounts under the modern approach and the rules of debit and credit that have to be applied when accounts are classified in the modern approach.